The hearing room felt more like a powder keg than a courtroom. Cameras blinked, pens hovered, and not a single breath was wasted on small talk. Judge Tanya Chutkan sat high behind the bench, chin up, gavel ready. Everyone knew what kind of day it would be. Everyone except Jasmine Crockett. Because Jasmine didn't come to play law, she came to practice it. The docket was already controversial. Subpoenas connected to January 6, executive privilege fights, and constitutional overreach wrapped in procedural suits. But the real tension? Jasmine had filed a motion that cut through the noise, a direct challenge to how the court was handling classified evidence. Most wouldn't dare. Judge Tanya had made it clear, her courtroom ran on precision, order, and her word alone. And Jasmine, with her signature fire, had just colored outside the lines. As Jasmine stood, a hush swept over the chamber. She wasn't in a fitted suit this time, she was in legal armor, binder in one hand, truth in the other. Your Honor, she began, her tone sharp but steady, when the Constitution becomes inconvenient for this bench, I will have no choice but to remind it, and the country, who it was written for. Tanya's eyes narrowed. This is not a political stage, Ms. Crockett. Jasmine leaned in, unblinking. Neither was Selma. But it still changed history. Gasps. One gavel slam. Out of order, Tanya barked. But Jasmine didn't sit. She paused. Then quietly added, maybe the order is the problem. The room froze, not from disrespect, but from recognition. Jasmine hadn't crossed the line. She'd exposed it. Judge Tanya Chutkan adjusted her robe, leaned forward, and stared down with the weight of the entire judiciary behind her. One more disruption, Ms. Crockett, she warned. And you'll be removed. But Jasmine wasn't flinching. She raised her binder slowly, opened it to the page marked with a yellow tab, and read aloud, not an opinion, not a protest, but a direct quote from the U.S. Code. The court shall not withhold evidence material to the defense unless it poses a clear and present danger to national security. Then, calmly, she looked up. I'm not here to make noise, Your Honor. I'm here because this court has done just that, silenced evidence in the name of optics. Reporters typed like their lives depended on it. Court officers exchanged glances. Even Tanya blinked, just once. Jasmine wasn't just attacking a ruling. She was indicting a system. Judge Chutkan responded coldly. You are dangerously close to contempt. And this courtroom, Jasmine replied, is dangerously close to forgetting who it serves. There it was. No yelling. No theatrics. Just razor-sharp law and a voice unwilling to shrink. A junior clerk dropped her pen. The gallery leaned forward. For a moment, it wasn't the judge who held the room, it was Jasmine Crockett. Tanya, poised but rattled, picked up her gavel. Then put it down without striking. You may proceed. A small victory. But Jasmine wasn't after small. She came for truth, on the record, in the light, no matter whose robe tried to block it. Jasmine stepped forward, measured, deliberate. Let the record reflect, she began, that this motion is not about politics. It's about power. And how this bench has shielded it. A low murmur rolled through the gallery. Tanya's jaw locked, her fingers tapping slowly against the wood of her bench. The rules of decorum said Jasmine should sit down. But the rules of justice? They had already been broken. Jasmine held up a sealed envelope. This, she said, is testimony from a whistleblower, an analyst who was instructed to bury footage tied to January 6. It was deemed inadmissible by this court. But the truth doesn't become irrelevant just because it's inconvenient. Tanya sat back, lips pursed. You're venturing into classified territory, Ms. Crockett. With all due respect, Jasmine replied, you ventured into silence when this courtroom redacted the people's right to know. Gasps. Again. This wasn't grandstanding. It was strategy. Jasmine wasn't speaking to the judge anymore, she was speaking through her. To the press. To the people watching the live stream. To history. Judge Chutkan gripped the arms of her chair. This is a warning. And this, Jasmine answered, holding up the whistleblower's envelope, is a wake-up call. Suddenly, a rustle behind the bench. One of Tanya's own clerks leaned forward and whispered urgently into her ear. Tanya stiffened. Her eyes darted to the envelope. Jasmine noticed. She didn't smile. She didn't blink. She just said what the room wasn't ready for. Truth doesn't wait for permission. And in that moment, even Tanya knew, Jasmine wasn't inside the courtroom anymore. She was the courtroom. Judge Tanya Chutkan pressed her lips together, visibly weighing her next move. Behind her stoic expression was a flicker of something rare, uncertainty. The envelope in Jasmine's hand had cracked open more than just courtroom protocol. It was now a question of authority. And Jasmine had just dared the entire system to answer. "I will allow the document," Tanya said slowly, her voice clipped. "But any breach of national security will not come from me," Jasmine cut in. "It already came from those who hid it." A hush, then shifting in the gallery benches. Jasmine passed the envelope to the court clerk, eyes never leaving Tanya's. When she spoke again, it wasn't a request. It was a declaration. "This court has mistaken control for justice. And I won't let it walk away unchallenged." The judge tensed. "You're towing a line, Ms. Crockett." "I didn't come to tow it," Jasmine said. "I came to erase it." Gasps again. But this time, no gavel. No rebuke. Tanya sat motionless, as if she too felt the shift in gravity. The clerk returned with the file, opened now. Its contents visible to the bench. Tanya's eyes scanned the pages, each line revealing just how far the department had gone to bury what should have been front-page headlines. Photos. Time-stamped footage. Instructions to suppress. Jasmine waited. Not smug, not smug. Just still. Finally, Tanya lowered the documents and spoke, barely above a whisper. "We'll reconvene in closed session." Jasmine tilted her head. "No, Judge. Let them hear it. You can silence me. Or you can show them the truth." Now it was a courtroom with no lines left. Only sides. And Jasmine had just drawn hers in fire. Tanya Chutkan didn't answer immediately. Her silence wasn't strategy, it was surrender wrapped in hesitation. She knew what the file meant. The footage inside, grainy, time-stamped, undeniably real, showed uniformed officials escorting key figures out of camera range minutes before the Capitol breach. It didn't just hint at foreknowledge. It screamed it. Jasmine stepped closer, lowering her voice so only Tanya could hear. "You can gavel me down," she whispered. "But you can't unsee what's in that folder. And you can't explain it away once the people see it too." Tanya exhaled, not in frustration, but fatigue. The kind that came from carrying the system too long without asking if it deserved to be carried. "You think this courtroom is yours to command?" the judge finally asked, louder now. "No," Jasmine said. "But it damn sure isn't theirs either." The gallery stirred. Press fingers froze on keyboards. No one had ever spoken to Judge Tanya like this, and lived to tell about it in the same room. But Jasmine wasn't posturing. She was planting flags. "This isn't just legal procedure," Jasmine continued. "It's historical erasure. You can either sign your name next to the truth or next to the cover-up." Tanya's hand twitched toward the gavel, but didn't move. "Court is in recess," she muttered, standing abruptly. The moment she stepped away, Jasmine remained, front and center. And when reporters shouted for comment, Jasmine turned slowly and said just one thing. "Tell the people their silence is over. The truth is entering the record." And with that, she didn't leave the courtroom. She claimed it. Outside the courtroom, the marble hall buzzed like a hive torn open. Journalists scrambled for quotes, pundits whispered into cameras, and staffers clutched their phones as if they were lifelines. But Jasmine? Jasmine Crockett walked straight through them, head high, heels deliberate, silence louder than any soundbite. She didn't need to explain what had just happened. She had already said enough, with evidence, with law, with conviction. But behind her, Judge Tanya Chutkan was spiraling. Back in chambers, Tanya stared at the envelope now spread across her desk. The whistleblower's statement. Surveillance footage. Chain of custody reports. Jasmine hadn't bluffed. This was a matchbook dropped onto a floor slicked with years of political gasoline. Her clerk spoke carefully. "Judge, what do we do?" Tanya's response came slow, each word like stone dragged uphill. "We prepare a statement." But Jasmine had already beaten her to it. An hour later, Jasmine stood at the courthouse steps. A sea of microphones waited. She didn't flinch. "I was told to stay in my lane. But when the law takes a detour into secrecy, silence isn't obedience, it's betrayal. Today, I refused both." Reporters fired questions. "Will there be consequences? Will you be sanctioned?" Jasmine looked out, not at them, but beyond. "They can sanction me. But they can't unring the bell." That line? It landed like thunder. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, Judge Chutkan watched the live stream. And for the first time in her tenure, she didn't feel like the one holding the gavel. The next morning, Washington was ablaze, not with fire, but with fallout. Cable news spun theories, editorial boards scrambled, and lawmakers whispered in hallways like the storm hadn't already made landfall. But one image repeated across every screen: Jasmine Crockett, standing outside the courthouse, eyes locked forward, jaw set like stone. She wasn't just a congresswoman anymore. She had become a symbol, of defiance, of law, of what happens when the courtroom door is pried open too far for the truth to hide. And inside that same courthouse, Tanya Chutkan knew it. Her chambers felt colder now. Empty of control, full of consequence. She picked up her pen, ready to draft a judicial response, but hesitated. Every word she wrote would now live in Jasmine's shadow. That truth gnawed at her. Suddenly, the door cracked open. It was the court's chief ethics liaison, holding a folder. "We've received inquiries from the Oversight Committee," he said. "They want to know why that whistleblower evidence was suppressed." Tanya closed her eyes. This wasn't damage control anymore. It was legacy. Meanwhile, Jasmine sat in her office, already reviewing requests for interviews. But she wasn't interested in fame. She was focused on something far more dangerous: precedent. When her aide asked, "Do you want to respond to the judge's pending order?" Jasmine didn't even look up. "Let her write whatever she needs to sleep," she said. The truth already left the courtroom. And it's not going back in. By midweek, the shock had worn off, but the tremors hadn't. Legal experts flooded airwaves, some defending Judge Tanya Chutkan, others calling Jasmine Crockett's move reckless brilliance. But no one could deny one fact: the seal was broken. And once truth escapes into public record, no robe or title can recontain it. Behind closed doors, Tanya met with senior judicial advisors. "They're framing me as the villain," she snapped. "They're turning the rule of law into a popularity contest." An older colleague replied softly, "Or maybe they're just tired of the silence we protected." Tanya didn't respond. Meanwhile, Jasmine sat across from a panel of bipartisan lawmakers, not as a witness, but as a warning. Her voice didn't shake. Transparency isn't treason. And challenging power inside the system doesn't make me radical. It makes me necessary. A Republican senator scoffed. "So you're the hero now?" Jasmine leaned forward, voice sharp as glass. "No. I'm the mirror. If you don't like the reflection, change what you see." The room went still. Outside, protesters gathered, not against Jasmine, but with her. Signs read, "Truth has no gag order," and "Let the whistle speak." It wasn't just a political moment. It was movement. And Judge Tanya Chutkan, watching it unfold from a window high above, realized something that chilled her deeper than any ruling ever had. She hadn't lost control of her courtroom. She'd lost control of the narrative. Friday afternoon. The Capitol Rotunda was unusually quiet, like it was holding its breath. Jasmine Crockett stepped into a private committee chamber with a single folder in hand, the same one that had shaken a courtroom, challenged a judge, and sparked a national storm. Inside sat select members of the House Judiciary Committee, both parties present. Some came to defend the system. Others came to watch it burn. Jasmine came for neither. "I didn't break protocol," she began, standing at the head of the table. "I broke the illusion that protocol alone delivers justice." One Democrat cleared his throat nervously. "Do you stand by your actions in Judge Chutkan's court?" Jasmine didn't blink. "Absolutely. The courtroom isn't holy ground, it's accountable ground. And if evidence can't breathe in there, then the law isn't alive. It's embalmed." A Republican muttered, "She thinks she's above the bench." Jasmine turned to him. "No. I just won't kneel to one that's afraid of sunlight." Meanwhile, Judge Tanya Chutkan sat alone in her chambers, holding an early draft of the court's official statement. Her eyes scanned the page, but her mind drifted to Jasmine's voice. "Truth doesn't wait for permission." That line haunted her. With a sigh, Tanya crossed out 3 full paragraphs. Not because they were wrong, but because Jasmine had already made them irrelevant. The power balance had shifted. And no amount of legal language could stop what was coming next. Because tomorrow? Jasmine would read the entire file aloud, live, on the House floor. The House chamber was packed, standing room only. Reporters lined the upper galleries, lenses fixed on the floor. Security tightened. Phones muted. And then, silence. Jasmine Crockett took the podium. No teleprompter. No notes. Just the folder. She opened it like a sacred text, page by page, truth by truth. She read names, timestamps, documents, directives. She didn't dramatize. She didn't shout. She let the facts hang in the air like smoke that couldn't be blown away. "This," she said, holding up a memo, "was signed 2 days before the attack. And this," she lifted a photo, "was the last time the department admitted the footage existed." Gasps. Shuffling. But no interruption. "They said my identity was fake," Jasmine continued. "They tried to make me small so the lie could stay big. But I wasn't made for silence. I was made for moments like this." Upstairs, Judge Tanya Chutkan sat in the gallery's shadows, hair pulled back, face unreadable. She wasn't there as a judge. She was there as a citizen. Jasmine locked eyes with her just once. Didn't smile. Didn't blink. "I don't care who drew the line," Jasmine said. "If it's drawn to block truth, I will walk through it every time." Thunderous applause erupted. Not partisan. Not political. Just real. Jasmine closed the folder. Laid it down. And with the quiet authority of someone who no longer asked for permission, she stepped back and whispered into the mic. "Let the record show, we're not afraid anymore." They tried to silence her. They tried to question her identity, her authority, her place. But Jasmine Crockett didn't come to play their game, she came to rewrite the rules. In a room built to intimidate, she didn't flinch. In the face of a federal judge, she didn't fold. And when power drew a line in the sand, Jasmine didn't just cross it, she erased it. This wasn't just about a courtroom. This was about truth. About who gets to speak it, who gets to hide it, and who has the courage to make it impossible to ignore. And today, Jasmine Crockett made one thing clear. If justice is real, then silence is no longer an option. Because she didn't just walk through the line. She set fire to it.